support communism, must break America. Just kidding, it doesn't work like that. I don't think. What's up everybody, this is Flash here with Flashy Dark Arts, and if you've made it this far, it's part 3, make sure you subscribe below, because Lord knows I earned it. So, I told you in part 1 and 2 that I would explain how communist, socialist ideas made it into the country. But Flash, socialism and communism is two different things. No, it's not. It's the same damn thing, okay? And this is how it happened. So, Karl Marx writes the Communist Manifesto in 1847, okay? In 1848, there's violent revolutions all across Europe, right? Uprisings in Germany, France, Italy, Austria, and a couple other places in Europe, right? And they get squashed, right? They get shut down, okay? This is kind of the end of socialism until 16 years later, right? 16 years later, people, are anarchist, socialists, newfound communists, and left-wing extremists from England, Germany, France, Italy, Austria, and other places, okay, meet at St. Martin's Hall in London, okay, and this is in 1864. This becomes the International Workingmen's Association, or the First International, okay. They elect a committee to help spread socialism worldwide, okay. The elected committee then elects a subcommittee to write their rules, their regulation, their goals, their playbook. The head of the subcommittee that wrote like 99.9% of their playbook, okay, was a 46-year-old journalist from Germany. His name was Karl Marx. This is when global socialism became communism. It is all the same damn ideology. You can call it 50 different names. It's the same thing. But Flash, how did it come to America? I thought you'd never ask. Go ahead and take a look at my super cool graph here. It's homemade. The International Workingmen's Association is established in 1864, okay? It comes to America in 1872 and is officially renamed the Workingmen's Party of the United States in 1876. It turns into the Socialistic Labor Party, okay? It changes its name and then changes its name again to the Socialist Labor Party. This party is still around, okay? It's been in the country for over 140 years now, okay? An offshoot occurs, it turns into, or a second party starts, it's the Socialist Democratic Party of America in 1898, and then it turns into the Socialist Party of America. So then you have two parties, you got the Socialist Labor Party, and you have the Socialist Party of America. I know what you're thinking, why so many name changes? Well, it turns out when you're in a country built on God and capitalism, and your goal is to end God and capitalism, you're gonna have to change your name a few times. So, the Socialist Party of America is in the country and that's the end of the story, right? Well, in the words of the Grinch, wrongo. Go ahead and take a look at my second super nifty homemade graph flowchart thingy. Moving on. So, Socialist Party of America is in the country from 1901 to 1972, and it breaks off into 5 main groups. Okay, first, the Intercollegiate Socialist Society from 1905 to 1921. It breaks off into the Young People's Socialist League in 1907 to 1972, and this is the group that's responsible for the great and wonderful Bernie Sanders. Okay, breaks off into the Communist Party USA, which breaks off into a bunch of other groups, which is also responsible for the 33rd Vice President, Henry Wallace, who starts the Progressive Party and offshoots into a couple different things. Also is responsible for Refuse Fascism, the 2016 anti-Trump movement. And then when the Socialist Party of America dissolves in 1972, in 1973, the Democratic Socialist Organizing Committee starts up, and they are responsible for the Democratic Socialists of America, right? This is a group that has over 100 elected officials nationwide, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib, okay? The Socialist Party of America also breaks off into the Socialist Party USA, which is a group that's still around. You can literally trace mass amounts of the Democratic Party back to these socialist parties. Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders. So they've taken control of a good part of America. Now what's the goal? What's the objective? Well, to implement socialism and break America, you silly goose, right? It's all about one world government. It's all about implementing socialism as the world economy and eventually decreasing the population to about 500 million people so we can be in harmony with the universe. They are implementing ideological subversion.
In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see.
I know what you're thinking. Come on, Flash, you don't really think this is happening, do you? Well, funny you should ask. We evicted God from the schools and the courthouse. We hate our law enforcement and treat them like shit, even though they're protecting us, right? We can't own up for our own damn mistakes. We hate ourselves now. We think America is terrible and it was never great because it was built from conquerors and built on the backs of slaves, just like every other great nation. We've turned every minority group into professional victims by babying them instead of empowering them as if they're not useful members of society, as if they are different. We've let socialism take hold in black communities and Latino communities and Native communities, and then we wonder why they're not flourishing. What do you think?
So we have religion, we have education, we have social life, we have power structure, we have labor relations, unions, and finally we have law and order. Okay? These are the areas of application of subversion.
At the same time, the Congress has not fulfilled its function of oversight. The House Internal Security Committee was disbanded by parliamentary maneuver in early 1975. The Senate Internal Security Subcommittee has just recently been reestablished in an abbreviated form. The Attorney General's list of subversives is no longer used in hiring for government positions. You have the Internal Security Division of the Justice Department has been abolished.
True and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief.
I think we left out the phrase, "so help me God."
We did.
Could we have the witnesses do it again for the record? Well, it goes back to our founding history. It's been part of our tradition for more than 2 centuries, and I don't know that we should abandon it now.
It calls itself SDS, Students for a Democratic Society. It has more than 300 chapters on the college campuses of America. For the rioting, mob actions, takeovers, and burnings on college and university campuses throughout the nation.
Filming you. Oh, I'm gonna hurt you. You have a mask on.
Oh shit, he's bleeding. Yo. Hey, man.
Cite the outrage over an election, sparking protests from coast to coast and cities in between. In Oakland, what started as a peaceful protest quickly turning violent.
She just grabbed my dick. Is that sexual assault?
Officers right here.
So look at this. Women have so much privilege. She can sexually assault me and get away with it.
President, you ain't support.
The guy also rips out the team's Make America Great Again hat.
You see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd, and you push back on them, and you tell them they're not welcome. What do we want?
I think the right to vote is inherent to our democracy. Yes, even for terrible people.
Going viral, a vape shop worker has a MAGA meltdown over a pro-Trump customer.
We're gonna have to kill some cracker babies.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
We have to destroy capitalism completely. It does not serve our needs. It does not serve the working class.
Yeah, the rich get richer, the gap is getting bigger.
But I remember, for some reason or other, being very excited when Fidel Castro made the revolution in Cuba. I was a kid and I remember reading that. And it was just seemed right and appropriate that poor people were rising up against rather ugly rich people.
You know, it's funny, sometimes American journalists talk about how bad a country is because people are lining up for food. That's a good thing.
The mass media, although being hugely influential, have limited power in this respect. They exercise ideological control. On the other hand, the education system does what the mass media cannot do: direct behavioural control.
By lowering the voting age from 18 to 16 years of age, my amendment will allow young people to have a say in our federal elections, to help shape and inform the policies that will set the course for the future.
People who are convicted in prison, like the Boston Marathon bomber, on death row, people who are convicted of sexual assault, they should be able to vote?
I think we should have that conversation. Because she doesn't have a way of paying for any of this. But of course, the Democratic base has decided that it is much more important to have somebody who is virtue signaling about why everybody should have a government job and why housing should be government provided.
So her platform includes free health care, college tuition, the minimum living wage, housing as a human right. How are we going to pay for those?
Oh God. I mean,
Us,
I guess.
Are we going to have a repeat
Can New
of
York
that?
go bankrupt?
Yeah, can New York
Is
go
that
bankrupt?
what you're?
And then when you see 25,000 jobs that were heading into New York City from Amazon just disappear overnight because of some 20-something congresswoman.
In 1943, the following directive was issued from party headquarters to all communists in the United States. It read, "When certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable build-ups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind."
Socialists have used the sins of this country's past like a battering ram to wreck the hell out of it. So how do we fix this? Well, first off, vote. I think that's an obvious one. Try to slow down the progression of this as much as possible. Okay, and two, make sure you educate your kids to not believe everything they're told. Our founding fathers did not want a government to take care of them. They just wanted to be left the hell alone. They knew that some government was necessary, but that a big government could trample their rights just as easily as a king or queen could. This is Flash with Flashy Dark Arts, leaving you with the words of Ronald Reagan.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers. Alexander Hamilton said, "A nation which can prefer disgrace to danger is prepared for a master and deserves one." Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better rev than dead, or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I, have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. You and I have the ability and the dignity and the right to make our own decisions and determine our own destiny.